So far in this talk series, we have learned why COVID and natural disasters are impacting the humanity. We looked at how much of that I ego we developed in human life is impacting the evolution. We looked at evolution from our origin to the end. We looked at what were we before the human birth and what is there for us after death. We also looked at godly characters as the corrective measures to solve the problems facing the humanity today. The first two godly characters we reviewed as a baseline personality mandatorily needed are detachment and pure love. Along with these two characters, we discussed the personalities of patience and tolerance to steer the aspirant towards realizing the self. In the last topic, we discussed the important trait an aspirant should have after following this path is devotion for transformation. Having come this far with the character refinement and matching the godly characters, the next two traits automatically an aspirant will exhibit is self-sacrifice or let-go attitude and forgiving everything and everyone in all occasions. Having come this far with the character refinement and matching the godly characters, an aspirant will end up in perfect let go or sacrifice or self-sacrifice attitude. This is the stage aspirant will feel material life is insignificant and he or she does not need anything in this life or himself or herself. Aspirant will let go things for others. When the aspirant sees that his or her possession is needed for someone, aspirant will give that away without second thought or any inhibitions. This is because aspirant has perfect detachment and pure love for giving with the experience of patience, tolerance, and devotion to God. This personality of self-sacrifice will appear as a natural gift for the aspirant when devotion peaks. My master once told a beautiful story for sacrifice. A beggar begged in the street. After 3 days of starving, he got 2 slices of bread. As he is about to eat, he sees 2 more beggars in the street approaching him and asking him for that bread, saying they are starving for the whole day. With him starving for 3 days, it was a bigger requirement for him to eat it. However, the beggar in this state of self-sacrifice will let go both the breads for the 2 approaching beggars to douse their hunger. That will be the level of let go for an aspirant in this state of self-sacrifice. Act of self-sacrifice or selfless giving has a special mention for spiritual progress because this action has the power of placing the aspirant in a better place in the astral world after human life. Nature cannot reward the aspirant exhibiting selfless service personality in human life, but it does provide a better place in heavens to serve like an angel. For everyone to understand astral world can be equated to celestial world. Higher the self-sacrifice in earthly life, higher the reach in the astral world. Higher the reach in the astral world takes one closer to God. This act of sacrifice shows the power of detachment and pure love. Act of giving is possible only with human body because of material things present in human life. The self-sacrifices made in human life wins accolades of spiritual gains and higher status in the post-human life in celestial world. One important thing the listener should note here is self-sacrifice means giving up something physically. Giving something physically is a physical service. Physical service means it can be done only in this material world. So physical service is not possible in post-human life because material possession to give is absent in that environment. Human life is the best opportunity to indulge in selfless giving. Human life is a great treasure for an aspirant to indulge in self-sacrifice or selfless giving. There is an apt story I want to share with listeners which will reflect these personalities we discussed thus far. It is the story of Saint Kannappa Nayanar. His original name was Thinnan. He was born to a chieftain of the tribal group who makes their livelihood by hunting in forest. As the father was aging, Thinnan was entrusted with chief position. While Hunting one day, Thinnan was separated from friends and was found himself in an unknown part of the jungle. As he was searching for the path back home, he came across a temple with Shivalinga as its deity. He was attracted with devotion towards the Shivalinga deity in the temple and wanted to offer something with love. He came up with a plan to offer the cooked wild boar he hunted, along with wildflower in the jungles and water to shower the deity. He carried in his hand the portion of the cooked boar meat which had the best taste. Along with it, he carried the plucked wildflower in his matted hair and filled up with his mouth with water. He showered the Shivalinga with the water from his mouth, offered the boar meat to Lord, and decorated the Shivalinga with the wildflower he brought. His sincere devotion was unparalleled to any devotion, but it was not gelling well for the priest Brahmin who was taking care of the temple. Every day this Brahmin priest will clean the place, deity, and chant mantras with the offering. Next day, it is messed up with all the crazy offerings to Lord because Thinnan appeared in the later part of the day and offered whatever to his capacity. He was appalled by the mess Thinnan created and prayed to Lord Shiva, "O Lord, I am trying to keep the place clean and some indignities are happening without his control, and please show mercy on him and correct the situation." Lord Shiva's voice was heard as thought waves by this Brahmin priest as a reply. Lord Shiva said, "My dear devotee, what you find crazy offering is the offer made to me by another sincere devotee. He does not know any rituals, chants, and practices, but with great love from his heart he is offering, and I am attracted to his devotion. You can hide from somewhere and watch tomorrow his devotion towards me." Next day, Thinnan came with his usual offering of water from his mouth as a shower, wildflower from his matted hair, and cooked boar. As he was offering, he saw the left eye in Shivalinga deity bleeding. Thinnan was horrified and felt the right action to fix the bleeding is to offer his own eye. He cut out his left eye out of its socket and placed it on Shivalinga's left eye. The bleeding stopped in the left eye with that action. In few moments, the right eye started bleeding. Without any second thought, Thinnan placed his leg on the bleeding right eye area as a mark for knowing to place his right eye and was ready to pluck out the right eye from the socket. Lord Shiva could not bear this sacrifice and immediately appeared before Thinnan and asked him to stop. Lord Shiva praised him and blessed him with Mukti and announced him as a Saint Kannappa Nayanar. Mukti means merging the soul with supreme consciousness after soul is liberated from the contaminants of mind and matter. Thinnan attained salvation with the blessing of Lord Shiva. In this story, let us analyze the personalities exhibited by Saint Kannappa Nayanar. With his offer of his own eyes, he exhibited selfless service or let-go attitude. This sacrifice was possible due to the deepest intensity of devotion he had for Lord Shiva. This devotion gave him patience and tolerance to prepare the daily offering to Lord by hunting the boar, cooking and tasting the best piece of boar, plucking the flowers from the wild, and filling the water in the mouth for offer to Lord Shiva. This he did with detachment from his body senses by displaying the efforts and complicated actions for offering, and also detachment by crossing the common sense barrier to stay away from his own parents and tribe group. He was chieftain for just to serve the Lord. This detachment was possible due to the pure love he had for Lord Shiva, where he did not expect anything back in return nor attached any precondition for his love for Lord Shiva. One may ask, does Lord Shiva exist? This question arises due to our common sense after hearing the story. Answer to that question is when the supreme principle, which is formless, is revered as a form like Lord Shiva, then that supreme consciousness will reveal itself in the form revered by the devotee aspirant for blessing him or her. Selfless service, selfless giving, helping with love is all an exhibition of best human personality, and it is the best personality which will elevate one surely to attain the higher state of spiritual progress. This reach cannot be matched by rituals or visiting worship places or prayers or pilgrimages or any mental spiritual actions, and even by the yoga techniques one is indulging in nowadays. With this, I will conclude the mention of self-sacrifice personality and move on to the last trait to enable us to match the divine character, that is, personality of forgiveness. In the personality progress to match the divinely God characters, aspirant will naturally develop the final important character, which is forgiveness. Forgiving endlessly is a godly character. Aspirant will forgive everyone and everything with no reservation. Act of forgiveness will remain a permanent character for the aspirant. With all the pre-qualification characters we have seen with two baseline personalities of detachment and pure love, and indulging in all actions of life with patience and tolerance, devotion and sacrifices, the forgiveness will remain sincere. This forgiveness is not for the namesake or for image grabbing or for gaining anything materially. Sincere forgiveness with all the pre-qualification characters breaks down the last remaining I ego of the aspirant. The beauty of sincere forgiveness is even a karma causing wrongful action by a person impacting the aspirant. Once forgiven by the aspirant at this level of progress, that karma will be erased instantly. Even the nature is altered to the tune of the aspirant's mindset in this action. This action of forgiveness is what every enlightened will display, and we can mention different stories correlating this. A good example for forgiveness in human character is when Jesus at the time of crucifixion prayed to God for the tormentors, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Imagine the personalities of detachment, pure love, patience, tolerance, sacrifice at foreplay in this act of forgiveness by Jesus Christ. This forgiving is possible only with the pure love exhibited on the tormentors and the detachment from the suffering inflicted on Jesus by the tormentors. This is the final beautiful godly character exhibited by the aspirant. For everything, the aspirant in this state forgives. If this character of forgiveness is exhibited by the aspirant, the intellect with I ego will completely disappear. Aspirant in this state is entering the foothill of supreme consciousness. Aspirant's soul is merging with supreme consciousness. In Hindu philosophy, it is said, Atman, which means the individual soul, is uniting with Brahman, which means the supreme consciousness. With this elimination of I ego, aspirant is no more fit to be a human. At this moment, aspirant will realize he or she is no different than God. This is the meaning of Aham Brahmasmi, which means I am God. This is what is Advaitam philosophy in Hinduism. This is the state aspirant will see the eternal happiness. This is the state once reached, aspirant will get answers for all the questions he or she asked about God in belief or disbelief. This is the state once reached, aspirant will realize the work of karma and how the unrighteous and injustices are handled. This is the state aspirant will feel delusions of material world he or she lived with this far. This is the state aspirant will know the true nature of their eternal life. This is the state aspirant will think humanity and all lives are his or her own. This is the state in which aspirant will look at humans living with common sense and logic sympathetically for being so ignorant. Today, as humans, we all feel animals and birds have no intellect, and so they don't have common sense to plan and secure. In the state of reaching supreme consciousness, aspirant will look at human intellect, common sense, and I ego as a regretful and wrongful leaning impacting every human's achievement of eternal happiness. This is the state every enlightened remain and compassionately look at earth lives helplessly for their bondage to material world. And I want to wholeheartedly mention, as my master says, one will also know the reasons for COVID and other natural disasters we are facing today. Aspirant will realize those actions as retrieving the humans to correct their journey. I know it is hard to digest with the human mind, but truth is truth, and I have to say as what it is. So, if we look at ladder, it has two parallel wooden poles with rungs as stepper. One can imagine those two parallel wooden poles as detachment and pure love personality we discussed. This means to scale up from human aware consciousness, one needs to have these two personalities first. The first rung step is patience, and we have to cross that. This means with the presence of the two personalities of detachment and pure love, one needs to observe patience. Second rung step is the tolerance we have to cross. This means with the presence of the two personalities of detachment and pure love, one needs to first scale up to observe patience and then tolerance. Third rung step is the devotion. Fourth rung step is the selfless service. Fifth rung step is forgiveness. So until we reach forgiveness, all the personalities we discuss need to be achieved. This 5-step ladder is the most apt method for every human in this modern world to live consciously, complying to the personalities mentioned in this talk series using their intellect. Animals and birds cannot do this. Only we humans can do it. Aspirant can belong to any religion or faith or even be an atheist or agnostic and still use this 5-step ladder to scale their human aware consciousness to supreme consciousness. If a person learns this personality techniques and lead their life accordingly, that person will not have any fear of life. That person will have the feel of universal citizen. That person will cross the barriers of ego on nationality, sex, language, divisions in society in terms of economic status, faith, religion, ideologies, caste, groups, and so on. That person need not have to have a spiritual master or a guide to guide them. We all should have been taught these techniques in our childhood. Unfortunately, our intellect bondage to material world has blinded us. It is the time to wake up and steer us in the direction to align with the nature's plan, and this reach alone is our progressive state. This is what nature wants us to do. I will conclude this talk on personality changes, and in next topic of discussion we will look at summary and conclusion. Thanks for listening this far. Victory to the Lord and the enlightened for their efforts and striving to make others achieve this.